Hey everyone, this is Vikas from Small Academy, and in this video today we are going to see how we can read the Excel file in our Android application and display the data in RecyclerView. So I got this request on my channel, so some of you guys asked me to create the Android app that read the data from the Excel file. So I created this application here. So I'm gonna show you the app what I have created. So here you can see at the beginning the progress bar is running and the data is loaded from the Excel. So these are the three title, description and image I have inserted in the Excel file. So let me show you what my Excel file contains. So here you can see we have three columns. The first one contains the title, second one contains the description, and third columns contain the URL for the images that I have displayed here in the RecyclerView. So many of you guys also asked me to show how to change the images that we have assigned in the RecyclerView. Like in the story app and note making app, I have used the static images for all the RecyclerView. So in this video we are actually going to learn how to change these images for all the element in the RecyclerView. So for this we're gonna need a few things, that is one Excel file, and we need to store this somewhere. So for that I have chosen the GitHub repository. So in my GitHub I have created one repository for this specific app, and here I have stored this Excel file. And you may notice here the Excel file have the extension .xls, which is the older version of Excel. The problem is while I was creating this application, I tried to use different Java library to parse the Excel file and display the data, but none of them work. So I tried Apache POI as well as other library, but I find very hard them to work in the application. So I found this one library called JXL API, which is working but for only .xls file. So you guys need to convert the newer version of Excel file which have the extension of .xlx to the XLS. Okay, so that is the only way that's going to work in this application. Okay, let's start by creating new Android application. Okay, the application is ready. Now I want to start by creating the UI of our application. So let me show you our final app, and here you can see we have this RecyclerView which will display all the data in the Excel file, and this RecyclerView have the image view and two text view. One is for title and another one is for the description. So I'm gonna go ahead and create one custom layout and design this in our XML file. So go to the resource folder inside layout. Here I'm going to create one custom layout, and so new layout resource file, I'll name it as custom layout. Okay, it will have the base container of linear layout, but I'm gonna change that to constant layout because it is really easy to work with constant layout. Okay, so let me go to the design part, and here I'm gonna design the UI that is required for data to display. So if you guys want to skip this part and want to use your own UI, then you can skip ahead and watch the rest of the tutorials. Okay, so let me design it first. So let me go to the activity main, and here I'm gonna delete this, and I'll drag and drop the recycler view. But you can see I also need to add this dependency to my project. So let me double click on this recycler view. It will give me the option to add the recycler view to my project, and the build is running. Once it get finished, the recycler view dependency will be added to my project, and then I can start using in my project. Okay, it is done. Let me drag and drop here. So okay, let me set the constraint that are required. Okay, you can notice these attributes are not displaying here. So if that's happening to you, you can just go to the build and clean the project. Okay, now the attributes are displaying here. So let me set the constraints on the all sides. Zeros on the all the sides. Yeah. Okay, so let me give the ID. List of data maybe. Okay, now I need to create the adapter that will integrate these custom layout to my recycler view. So for that I'm gonna go ahead here and create new adapter class. Okay, this adapter class will extend the recycler view class. So let me do that. So we are going to need to inherit the characteristics of our recycler view dot view holder class. Okay, recycler view dot adapter class. Dot adapter, and we need a view holder inside this. Okay, so let me create the view holder class, and our view holder class will extend the recycler view holder class. Okay, yeah, now I need to create the constructor for this. So I just did using the autocomplete features of Android Studio. Let me implement the methods. We are going to need all these three methods. Okay, yeah, this is how we create the adapter for our recycler view. So let me create one more thing here, that is empty constructor. Sorry, we need constructor to pass the data. So let me create the constructor for this adapter. For now I'm gonna pass the context as the argument for this constructor. Inside this okay, let me declare the layout inflator. This layout inflator will help us to connect our custom layout XML file to the our recycler view, and we can actually assign the data that is received from the list view or the Excel file, and we can display that data in our recycler view using this layout inflator. Okay, so inside this I'm gonna assign this inflator to layout inflator from context. Okay, and here I'm gonna pass the 10. I'm gonna return the 10, so it will display the 10 item in our recycler view, and the recycler view will have the whatever the data I have given here. So the same thing will be displayed 10 times. Okay, so I'm doing this just to test if the recycler view is working or not. So here I'm gonna declare the recycler view. I'm also need adapter, so let me create the adapter. Okay, inside this I'm gonna get the resources. So recycler view batch of data is our RecyclerView ID, I think, and adapter. So I'm going to create the new adapter, and I'm going to pass the context as our argument, and I'm going to set the layout manager for this, and we're going to create new linear layout manager, and I also need to pass the context as a argument here for this current context, and I'm going to set the adapter to our RecyclerView. Okay, the app is running, but you can see the app is stops. That means we got some error here. So let me go to the log and see what was the error. Okay. Okay, I forgot some essential steps actually. Um, actually we need to create the view and return that view before we can run the app, right? So let me create the view first. I need to inflate with the custom layout view we have. Okay, and last is false, and now I'm gonna return this view to our view holder. So new view holder view as a parameter. Okay, let me run this app and hopefully it will run. You can see the app is running, but it is having some problem, so let me go and fix that in our custom view, and I'm gonna set it to the wrap content. Okay, also we are getting some error here, so let me fix that to okay, that is the match constant, and I'm gonna set a little bit of margin top. Okay, so let us run that and see if that solves the problem. Okay, so this is the somewhat design that we're going to use in our application. So now in the next part we are going to add the library of the Java library, and we're going to add one more other library like PICASSO to load the image, and Android async HTTP to download the Excel data from the internet. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna need the library that we need to add in this project. So go to the build.gradle file of module app, and here we need to add our libraries. So I'm gonna go and copy the library from my blog. So if you go here, you can see these are the three libraries that we're gonna need. Let me copy it from here and paste into the dependencies. Okay, so here the first one is JXL API that we are going to use it to read the content of the Excel file. Second one is Android async HTTP. This library is used to download the Excel file from the server. And the last one is PICASSO. PICASSO is used to download and display the image in image view. Okay, so these library are going to be used in our project. So let me sync my project. It will download the libraries and configure for our project. Okay, the libraries are downloaded and configured. Now we're going to start using it. So I'll just close this. Now inside this main activity, first thing we're going to need is the URL of our project. URL of our Excel file that is stored in the server, right? So I'm gonna go and download get the server URL. So if I go to my GitHub project, So this is the project that I created for this um, Android application, and here I have the story.xls file. So I'm gonna click on this view raw and copy this address. So this will give the downloadable address for my file. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna create one string and name it as URL, and I'm gonna paste it. Okay. So once the URL is defined, we can use Android async HTTP library to download the Excel file from the given URL. So I'm gonna use the async HTTP client. So let me declare the variable here as client. So so here I can create the new object of async HTTP client. Client equals to new async HTTP client. Now using this object we can actually start downloading the file from the server. So client.get, it will take two parameter. First one is URL and second we need to handle the file. So we can create new file handler, file async HTTP response handler. So here it will implement two method, that is on failure and on success. So if our application is failed to download the file, it will execute the on failure, and if the file gets downloaded successfully, it will execute the on success method of this object, and this file will contain the actual response of our file. Okay, so here we need to pass the current context, and let me close this. Okay, so if file is failed to download, I'm gonna display one toast message to the user letting them know that the download has failed. Download failed. But if download succeed, we're gonna let the user know that download has been successful, and we can proceed further to display the data from this Excel file. Okay, so I'll create the one toast message saying that download succeed, downloaded, or say file downloaded. Okay, now we can actually start reading the Excel file using our JXL API. Okay, so to do that we need to create the workbook. Okay, so we need workbook settings and workbook etc. Right, so I'm going to start with the workbook setting. Let's say WS new workbook setting. Now in setting I can set the GCD disable is equals to true. Now if I'm gonna check if the file is not empty, okay, if the whatever file we have just downloaded is not null, then we are gonna proceed ahead to read the file. Okay, so we're gonna need the workbook for this. So I'm going to create new workbook. So workbook is like a Excel file, so it will get the content of the Excel file and stored in the in this object. So let me create a workbook from JXL, and let's say workbook and I'm going to use this variable to read and store the content of our Excel file. So workbook equals to new, sorry, workbook dot get workbook, and we'll pass the file. Okay, but it will may throw some error, so we need to surround it by try catch to catch the exception. So our Excel file is divided into few parts like sheets and row and column. So workbook is a abstract concept of Excel file. Okay, so it is the main file, and inside the main file we have sheets, so we may have multiple sheets, and inside each sheet we have row and columns. Okay, so if we want to refer the some particular row and column, then we need to go step by step, like we need to get the sheet first. After that, inside that sheet we need to read the row and column, right? So that's why we need to create one variable for sheet. So we're going to access the sheet first, and after that we can access the row and columns. So I'm going to use the workbook variable to get the sheet, and we're going to get the first sheet. Okay, that's why I'm passing the index as 0, and after that we'll get the rows and columns. Okay, so since we have multiple rows and multiple column, we need to use for loop to access the all the rows and column. So I'm going to use for loop here, and we're gonna run our for loop as long as there is row exist in the Excel file, right? So that's why I'm using the get rows method here. So it will return the number of rows present in our file. So if our Excel file have like 10 rows, then it will display the 10, and this for loop will run for the 10 times. Okay, so nothing complicated, just let me initialize to 0. Okay, now we need to get the each rows, and after that we're going to get the each columns. Okay, so first we need to identify which rows we need to use to get the data, and after that, using that current rows, we can go to the 0 1 2 columns. Okay, so let me create new cell, and it should be of array type. I'm gonna say it is row, and I'm gonna get the sheet dot get rows, and I'm gonna pass the index. Okay, so when this for loop run for the first time, it will store the content of first row, after that second, third, fourth, and ultimately until the end of the rows. Okay, so now I need to store the title, description, and the image URL in the separate list, array list. Okay, so for that I'm going to create new array list. So I'm going to create 3 array list here. Now I'll make the changes in our adapter file so that it can take the 3 array list to read the data and bind them to our RecyclerView. So go to the constructor of our adapter class, and here I'm going to pass the 3 list as our argument. So it will accept the list view of string. Okay, so this will store the data that is received from the adapter constructor to the variable inside our adapter class. So now we can use these titles, description, and image. Okay, after doing this, let me go to the main activity. And inside this, I need to since our adapter has the different constructor now, which will take the list of titles, contents, and description, title, description, and image URL. So I need to do that, give that here. So I'm going to give titles, description, and the last one, image URL. So now let me cut this from here, and I'm gonna paste that after this client.get method here, so that our titles, description, and image URL is populated with the data before the adapter constructor is called. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna log this title, description, and see if this is working or not. Okay, so type Control Alt C, it will create the constant for us. So on success, I'm gonna display the titles as well as description, or we'll just display the titles. Okay, so this title is supposed to be the array of titles that we have in our Excel file. So I'm gonna print that after the for loop. Okay, so instead of using this adapter and recycler view here, I'm gonna put these 3 lines of code into one method. So immediately after this for loop, I'm gonna call one method called showData, and I'm gonna create that into main activity here. So inside this, I'm gonna paste that. So we are calling this showData methods once the titles, description and image URL is populated with the data that is retrieved from the Excel file. Okay, so after calling this, I'm going to go to adapter, and here I have made this description. Instead of this, I need to make this to content, so that description of the data will be assigned to the right XML resources. So after that, I'm gonna run this. Okay, so I have added one more log here just to check if this work or not. So I'm gonna run this app. Okay, now we can see the file is downloaded and we have seen the data here. Okay, first, second and third, and we have images, title and description. So we can make this bold if you want. And you may notice that in the beginning we have this progress bar that is displayed when the file is downloaded, right? So whenever the file is in the process of downloading, the user screen just freezes, right? So instead of displaying nothing, then we'll display the progress bar so that user will understand that some background process is going on and he should wait. So to do that, I have added one progress bar here. Okay, so initially the progress bar is in hidden state. Okay, so I have made it invisible. If I made it visible, you'll see the progress bar here, right? So I made this invisible because we are gonna display this only when the some downloading is in the background. Okay, downloading process is going on the background. So I have given the progress bar ID as a progress bar, and in the main activity, if I go here, I have created one progress bar variable, so you should do that. And here I have um, assigned the progress bar resources to these variables, and just after the async HTTP object is created, I'm gonna display the progress bar. Okay, so I have set the visibility to visible, and after that, once if once the file start downloading, two condition might happen, right? It might get failed or it might get succeed, right? So if the download is failed, we're gonna display this message and we're gonna hide the progress bar. So I have given the view.gone here by using set visibility method, and similarly, if the download is succeed, then we're gonna display the data, and before displaying the data, we're gonna hide the visibility. So I have done the same thing here. So this is it. This is how we display the data. So I'll just run it again and show you how our app look like. This is our final app, right? So here you can see the progress bar is running, and now the data is displayed. Okay, so this is how we display the data from Excel by reading the content. So you can update the content of the Excel file and they'll be reflected here. But while updating the data, please make sure that you have added all the titles, description and image URL. So you can save the image in any web and you can use that URL. And also make sure that you have the same URL. Okay, otherwise if you have different URL, you can change it here. But each time when you update the data, you should always have the same URL. That's why I have used this GitHub, right? In GitHub we can update the file without changing any URL. So yeah, that's how we display the data from the Excel file to our Android app in the RecyclerView. So I really hope that you understood something and learned something from these tutorials, and if you have got any questions, you can ask me. And if you don't understand something, then I have written the blog especially dedicated for this topic, so you can go to my blog called smallacademy.online, and there you can read the whole thing that I have written. And if you still don't understand, you can always ask me in the comment box. And one more thing you can do is you can like and subscribe so that I'll get to know that I'm helping you guys. At last, I would like to thank you guys for making this community of 1,000 subscribers, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.